Both of my parents had joined the Air Force at around the same time, and they ended up meeting, and 3 months later they got married. And a year or two later they had me. So I was definitely born into the military life, and I was actually born on an Air Force base in South Carolina, Shaw Air Force Base. So right from the beginning, I was, thrown into the military life, and it's all I've known since I was born. My mom ended up getting out after 4 years, but obviously my dad was still in, and so we would move. We'd do all the moving and, regular military life. And in 2004, my little brother was born. So there was a new addition to the family, which didn't stop, my dad from having to do what he had to do, and us moving from state to state, or me changing schools every time we changed locations. So it was definitely a busy life. With my dad being active duty, it would take us literally all over the country. I was born in South Carolina, spent a couple years there, moved up to Maryland, where my brother was born, and then after he was born, spent a couple years there, and then we moved up to North Dakota, which was an experience in itself, and then we moved back down to Maryland for a couple years, and then we spent 7 years in Florida, which is where I finished out middle school and graduated from high school, and then we ended up moving to Tennessee. It may seem, pretty cool and all to be able to say that you've lived in, over 3 different states in your lifetime, but really for me, it was hard. It was really hard, and it was really hard on my brother. Moving, picking up everything you've known, and completely moving to a different state, and having to meet new people, make new friends, get accustomed to a completely different culture in such a short period of time. To acclimate yourself was really hard, and while I got used to it, it still wasn't easy. People aren't as welcoming as you would like to hope, and there were many times where I'd sit and eat lunch by myself just because I was the new girl and I didn't know anybody, and that was really hard. Definitely something that people who live in one place all their life don't understand. It was really hard for me to develop, deep, meaningful friendships and relationships with people, because in the back of my mind I always knew that, a year or two down the road I'd be leaving and probably not coming back. And before the day and age of, social media, that meant not really hearing from your friends and ever again. And that was really hard for me. I have so many friends that I met over the years of growing up, a military kid, that I don't have now because I lost contact with them. I remember specifically, I was in 6th grade and we were living in Maryland at the time, and this was before I knew that we were going to be moving soon. I ended up getting my first boyfriend, and, we dated for a good 8 or 9 months, and come to find out, in a couple months it was going to be time for me to leave. People don't think they'll ever have to go through something like that, and we were forced to, part ways and, move on with our lives, even though we didn't really want to. The toughest part, without a shadow of a doubt, about growing up with a dad who was in the military was the deployments. My dad went on 4 major deployments once we went to war with Iraq, and they ranged from 2 months at a time to, I think the longest was 8 months, and they were some of the darkest times of my life. It was bad enough, not having my dad around, but not being able to talk to him, not being able to see him, and constantly worrying if he was gonna come home or not from his deployment is something that no child should have to ever endure. Those life experiences were hard, but I'm just thankful that I was able to get through them, and that my dad was able to get through them safely, and that we are all healthy still today. And although those were definitely the saddest times of my life, I'm proud to sit here today and say that I got through them, and I've learned from them, and I will continue to apply the things that I learned growing up in a military family to the rest of my life. And there's not a day that goes by that I'm not completely and utterly thankful that I have my dad with me today.